and welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Michelle and welcome to my channel called Michelle the Mystic. Today's video we are going to be discussing what exactly is a spiritual awakening, what even is there to awaken to, and some phases and some signs that you can use to tell if you are having a spiritual awakening or a spiritual journey of your own. So a little about myself. I've recently undergone a spiritual awakening or an awakening type situation about 6 months ago, and throughout this process I've been guided and I've been called to share my ideas and to share what I've learned through this platform of YouTube. So that is the whole reason why I started this channel, to do videos like this and to help people grow along their path and to answer some questions. So the way that I like to think about being spiritually awakened is having some type of event or something happen that completely changes your perspective on life and changes your whole paradigm through the way you understand and consciously perceive the world. So what does it actually mean to spiritually awaken? What does that term mean? What is the definition and what does it involve? To spiritually awaken means to have a paradigm shift in the operating state of your consciousness. It means to transform and become aware, to see the world from a higher form of consciousness that moves beyond the energetically dense ego physical world. Being spiritually awakened means becoming more aware of yourself and your surroundings, becoming more aware of the bigger picture of the physical world, not just so much as to your personal life and your personal troubles and your day-to-day things. It's really shifting the paradigm of the conscious understanding and the way that you filter the world through a different lens. So you stop looking at things from a more personal standpoint and you start understanding things in terms of the bigger picture, how you are involved in a collective consciousness, how you are part of humanity and what humanity is trying to achieve and the things that are happening right now on Earth. Spiritually awakening can have the effect of almost waking up from a dream, or if you've seen the movie The Matrix, it kind of can feel that way as well. You're waking up to new perspectives and to new understandings that you never even knew were possible, and so it sort of is like the feeling of like, wow, all of this information was here before and I could see it, I could perceive it, but now it almost feels like it was all a dream before, and now I'm waking up from that dream and I'm seeing the truth, I'm seeing the reality, and I'm seeing where I fit in with the universe, with the collective consciousness, and the rest of the world. So spiritually awakening is often triggered by someone or something that drastically changes the way that you think about things and sort of forces a new perspective into your life. So the ways that these can happen, the most common types of things that can happen are in the form of loss. So potentially a loss of a job or a loss of a marriage, like say divorce, or loss of a person, so like death, any type of loss that you're dealing with. Another type of trigger could be a call to action, and what this really means is anything where you feel the yearning of your soul calling you to do something in particular that maybe wasn't a part of your life before. Like I've heard some people who were in some type of relationship where their current life was falling away, things were becoming distant, and maybe they had the calling to suddenly up and move to, like say, Peru or a different country, or to do something spontaneous and travel in a way that they had not been called to do before. The call to adventure is an awakening incident, a new perception that compels you to look at life differently. Deepak Chopra. So now that we've answered the question and given a definition to what a spiritual awakening typically looks like, and we've sort of understood how they happen and where they begin, why don't we take a look at some of the things that can happen to you that you can identify while you're having your spiritual awakening, and some things and some benefits that happen while this process is going on. So usually during the process of waking up, of becoming aware and moving to a higher state of consciousness, people often experience what is called awakening symptoms or ascension symptoms. So what really happens when you're having a spiritual awakening is you're becoming consciously aware of a different perspective and a different way of thinking about the world. And then what that does internally is everything is vibration. Everything in this world has a different frequency that it vibrates at. And when you change your perspective, when this paradigm happens, this paradigm shift happens, you are changing the frequency at which your body operates. You're changing the frequency at which your mind perceives and understands the world. And then this is what causes the spiritual awakening ascension symptoms that actually physically manifest in your life. So some of the symptoms that can occur, and one of the main things that happened to me was like inability and very much trouble sleeping. So I couldn't sleep throughout the night. I would wake up every 2 hours or so, especially during the hours of like 2 and 4 or 2 and 5. I just had a lot of trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, and I would often have very intense, like vivid dreams, which I have had for my entire life. So that wasn't something that I thought about too much or as a concern, but that is also another item on the Ascension Symptoms list, is having very intense, vivid dreams, sometimes disturbing dreams, where it's really working in the subconscious mind, trying to vibrationally change the way that your body is operating. Because if you think about it, the way that this process works, when you become completely aware and more aware of the truths of the universe and the truths that align with your being, your soul, your higher self, is awakened and it understands, and it's starting to operate at a higher conscious level, which is a higher frequency, and that higher frequency is less dense than the physical body. The physical human body here on Earth is operating at a very dense and lower vibrational state. And so when your consciousness, when your soul, when your spirit is awakened and it's at a higher vibration, it's at a higher frequency, your body is not in alignment with that. And so that's exactly what causes these ascension symptoms, is your body's playing catch up. It's not really understanding what's going on, and it is physically manifesting these symptoms into your life. And so that's why you experience these things. So aside from intense, vivid dreams and disrupted sleeping patterns and the inability to sleep well and to be rested, there are some other ascension symptoms. Typically, your senses also heighten. So I noticed for myself that my sense of hearing increased a lot. My sense of vision increased a lot as well, and sense of smell. So I didn't think anything of this until, I was around other people, and then I was like, oh, do you smell that? That smells really bad. Or, we need to take out the trash soon because that smells horrible. I can smell it all the way from here. Or I can smell the coconut oil that you put in your hair for your hair mask all the way in my bathroom, not in your bathroom. And it wasn't until I actually started to voice these things to other people that they were like, oh, I can't smell that. Oh, I can't hear that. Like one time, for example, I was outside an ice cream shop with some of my friends, and there was a store next door that was playing a song that I knew, and I could hear it from where we were standing. And I was like, oh guys, do you hear that song? It's this and this. And they were like, oh no, I can't hear that. I can hear a little bit of the rhythm, but I don't know what song that is. And I was just like, huh, okay. So definitely my sense of hearing increased for sure. Other symptoms include a drastic change in your energy. So you could, this could translate into feeling very lethargic and needing extra sleep. That also goes into the sleep deprivation and having bad quality sleep. But you're drained of energy, you feel lethargic, you don't have as much energy to do things or to interact with people. Another symptom is becoming more energetically sensitive to other people. So for myself, I noticed that I'm a very extroverted person and I love to be around people. And in college and even like a year ago, I could be around crowds of people and I could be around my friends for literally the whole day, and I would love it. And like I loved being by myself as well, but I craved that time with other people and I never felt energetically drained. I was always sort of okay doing that. And after my spiritual awakening, or throughout my spiritual awakening, I became extremely sensitive to hanging out with other people and to energetically interact with them, because it caused so much of an energy drain to be with them. And maybe it was the people that I was with, I don't know, but that is a typical symptom that happens, is that you are more sensitive to the energy around other people. You can sort of pick up on other energies, and you can feel that vibrationally. And this can translate in a lot of different ways. You can walk into a crowd or into a room and notice that something is off, or somebody feels weird, or the way that they're looking at you. It can translate into a lot of different ways. So along with becoming more energetically sensitive, this could also translate into maybe needing more time by yourself, and maybe also becoming more introverted as a person. And so I keep giving the example for myself because I've experienced all of these things. So I noticed that I was energetically drained from hanging out with people for maybe 2+ hours, and I noticed that, and I took that into account, and I was like, okay, that this is something that's changing for me. I prefer to be alone now, and so I would try to limit my exposure to other people as much as I could, so that I could really just be with myself and to understand what I was going through, and to just align better with my soul's needs and my spirits, and just figure things out on my own and take it slow. So another thing that could happen is changes in your body temperature. So maybe while you're sleeping, you wake up in cold sweats, or sometimes you're sleeping and you need the room to be really cold, or you need the room to be really hot. It can just sort of happen in different ways, heat flashes, or while you're out in public, anything like that. So changes in body temperature is also a symptom. A couple more symptoms here I'm going to throw out is an increased sensitivity to nature and wanting to be outside more, wanting to be in nature, a more profound gratitude for nature as well. So for myself, I've always loved nature, and I always loved the moon, but not so much being outside like during the day, during the sun. I would like to sit in the grass and that kind of thing. But I found a profound sense of love for the water. So, and I've never had that because I honestly don't really like the water that much. I don't like the ocean. I'm kind of terrified of drowning and going on a cruise. But I just found that it was so comforting and so calming for me to be around any body of water, that I would try to do that on a weekly basis, or at least a couple times a week, to put myself out into nature. And that also helps with grounding, which I can talk about grounding in another video for sure, because that's also very important during this whole process. So another symptom can be an increase in synchronicities. So you can see this in a lot of different ways. You can see this in a common form, which is angel numbers, which I'll make in another video, but you can also Google that, or look that up on YouTube, what angel numbers are. But those are basically repeating numbers. So for me, I saw the number 444 like everywhere. I would wake up on the dot at 4:44 a.m. and I would see it on the clock when I was talking to people, not like I was looking for it. I would see it on billboards, I would see it on license plates, like I would see it everywhere, and it was so frequent that I had to take notice of it. And then that shifted, and I was able to see other angel numbers as well. But it can also be in the form of seeing specific types of animals, or hearing specific things that are brought up in conversation that maybe are on your mind, like maybe a certain person's name, or a certain location that you want to move to, or something like that. So increasing in synchronicities in your life that maybe you haven't told other people, but somehow it's out there in the world, and then you perceive that as well. So a lot of people can also be confused by spiritual awakening, because it's like, what are you actually awakening to? And that is a really good question. So the way that I like to think about it is, everybody is on a different path that is meant for them, and that is their purpose and their soul's purpose for being here on earth. So whenever you have a spiritual awakening, it's tailored to everybody specifically in their life and the lessons that they need to learn. And so if you're on a spiritual awakening process where your soul's purpose is to be a humanitarian and to help heal the earth, and to help humanity get back on track so that we are more environmentally stable and those types of things, then the things that are going to light you up and the things that are going to be more of your soul's calling and resonate with you are going to be something related to that. And so anytime that you encounter new information, or you start to learn about new things, your soul is going to resonate with those things so much that it's going to call you to look up more things. And sort of, it's this sort of path of following breadcrumbs. And so you start with one thing. I started with a podcast, and the person that was being interviewed on the podcast was a spiritual teacher who had written a book. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I should check her out. So I looked up her book and I was like, what's the harm? It's $10. And so I bought the book. I read the book, and then I was like, this stuff is really cool. And in the book, it talked about angels and archangels. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I love this. And so it's sort of the path of following the little breadcrumbs of light, of things that light you up and things that you feel resonate within your soul. And so once you start to do that, you start to uncover different things, you start to learn, you start to grow, you start to find new spiritual teachers. Your soul already knows your mission and your purpose here on earth and your purpose for your life. And once you start to uncover the different aspects of that, and you start to learn and you start to dabble in different areas that are collectively your soul's purpose and your consciousness, then it feels like you already knew this information, but you're just remembering it. And that's how I like to describe resonance and resonance with your soul. And so it's all about finding the little breadcrumbs of things that you align with and things that resonate within your soul. Now, I can't speak for the entire spiritual community, obviously, because I am one person and I've had only one experience. And so everybody's experience is tailored to their soul mission and the things that they need to learn in this lifetime. So their truths might be different from my truths, but what I found I've spiritually awakened to, and sort of what the collective consciousness is leaning more towards, are just different beliefs and sort of a broader perspective on what you would call religion today. And so I awakened to the fact that yes, there is a God, but I don't call him God. It's not a man up in the sky with a beard that looks like a human. It's more of the universe. It's divine source intelligence, and that guides and protects all beings and all humans and all entities throughout the universe. Throughout the universe, we have also angels that are forms of light that are here to help and guide us. And we also have archangels, which those are, maybe the typical archangels that you've heard of, like Archangel Michael or Archangel Gabriel. I believe that they are real and they exist as well, and they are here to guide us. Along with that, the biggest thing that I awakened to was the fact that every single person has their own spiritual team. And so that can be in the form of like your guardian angel, your higher self. And so your higher self is more of like the truest version of your soul that exists in a different dimension. And so we have this spiritual team of the universe and divine source. We have angels, we have archangels, we have our spirit guides. Spirit guides can include like ancestors. They can include any other beings that have not incarnated here during this lifetime. Another thing that I became spiritually awakened to is the fact that reincarnation is real, and that your soul is so wise. And the reason it knows these things and resonates with these things already is because it's already incarnated here before. And the purpose of reincarnating is for your soul to grow and to learn through new experiences and new lessons. So that's what I sort of learned, is that my soul is so ancient and so wise, and it's gone through so many different lifetimes where it's learned all of these things, and I'm in this lifetime to learn something new, to learn something that I've never experienced before, and to create something and to create a reality that I didn't before. And so one of the last things I want to talk to you guys that happens or can happen during a spiritual awakening or spiritual process or spiritual journey is what the spiritual community calls the dark night of the soul. And this is essentially a phase in your life or a cycle in your life that can range anywhere between like a couple months and maybe a couple years. And it's sort of just a time in your life that is pretty hard, and you're questioning things. You're maybe living out of more fear-based or lonely lifestyle or something like that. It really depends. Your spiritual process could be triggered by a loss of a loved one, and then that could spiral into what is called the dark night of the soul. And so this is really where a lot of your shadow self and a lot of your traumas and experiences and negative things that have happened in your life can resurface for the purpose of allowing you to heal and allowing you to grow. So this is like a necessary part of the process that allows things that have been pushed down to resurface so that you can grow and become better. And it's necessary for you to deal with and understand and learn about your shadow self so that you can continue to progress. And a lot of times this process feels like it takes a while. It feels like you're alone. It feels very difficult, and you start to question, what is the whole point of even awakening if they're going to hit me with all this crap that I have to deal with and all these things that I have to digest and to figure out by myself. And it can be really, really hard and really triggering, and a lot of people sometimes don't make it through. And that's the fact about spiritual journey and a spiritual awakening, is that it's not easy. And nobody really tells you that up front. They're kind of like, oh wow, like you awaken, you learn all of these great things, you learn about consciousness, you learn about God, you learn about all these amazing things that raise your vibration and allow you to live more compassionately and live more in the alignment with love, and the love of the universe. But then you also have to deal with the shadow aspects of yourself and the things and the traumas that have happened to you, and to understand why they happened, and to understand how they can help you and how you can use that to help humanity. So the process of waking up is essentially following the things that light you up. So anything that sparks joy, or like a childlike excitement within you, or resonates within your body and within your mind and soul in a different way, that is your calling. That is your soul telling you to follow that. And whatever that is, wherever it may lead, is going to lead you down the path of enlightenment, the path of awakening, and the path of your true soul's purpose.